Good morning, everyone. This is the regular monthly open meeting of the Third Laguna Hills Mutual Board of Directors, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, and it's now 9:30 a.m. We are in the boardroom as well as available for viewing on TV6, Zoom, and Granicus. And just a friendly reminder to everyone to silence your phones if you haven't already. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I see that we have a quorum of 9 directors. One is out sick. We'll start today's meeting with our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Director Jim Cook. Jim?
And if you'll follow along with me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Jim. It's now time to approve our agenda for today. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda? Reza moves, Chris seconds. Anybody have any suggested changes? Okay, seeing none, we'll consider the agenda approved by consent. We're now looking to approve the meeting minutes for 2 different meetings. Let's try to address these collectively. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the 2 meetings outlined in our agenda packet? Brad moves, SK seconds, thank you. Does anybody have any suggested corrections to either of them? Okay, anybody have any issues with approving them as is? Seeing no objections, we will consider those approved by consent as well. We're now on to agenda item 5, which is a report of the chair. This morning I wanted to share some information about the upcoming budget meetings for Third Mutual. The meetings to discuss and determine next year's budget start later this month. The first meeting for the 2025 budget effort for Third Mutual will be held on next Wednesday, March 27th, starting at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. At that meeting, staff management for landscaping, maintenance and construction, and general services will all share information about the current 2024 services that are being provided to Third. And during this meeting, the board and Third members can ask questions to clarify current services and make suggestions for which services should be left as is, and which services could be changed, added, or eliminated in 2025. Then in late May and early June, there will be meetings where staff management for the same 3 organizations, landscaping, maintenance and construction, and general services, will share their initial proposal for the 2025 budget for their areas. These initial proposals will be based upon the planned costs for the supplies and staffing needed to provide the services the staff understands the board is looking for VMS to deliver in 2025. Again, during these meetings, the board and the Third members can continue to ask questions and further provide direction to staff regarding which services should be included, modified, or discontinued for these 3 areas in 2025. The development of the budget will continue as an iterative process where the board provides input regarding service and cost expectations, and then staff refines the budget and shares the updated version for the board to add additional input. There will be 2 more meetings scheduled, one in July and one in August for budget discussions where staff will share the proposed budget with detailed costs and services with the intent of discussing and finalizing the 2025 budget for approval during the monthly September 3rd board meeting. I'll share more about the July and August budget meetings as we get closer to them. I'm mentioning these meetings because as I've stated before, I feel that creating the yearly budget is one of the most important and difficult tasks for the board. The board works to balance the services that are expected or requested against the costs of providing those services in an effort to keep our assessments as low as they can be while still delivering the appropriate services. Although the responsibility of determining the budget and thus our monthly assessment is delegated to the board when Third members elect fellow homeowners to represent them, I'd still like your help. I'm requesting that if you're interested and available, that you please join us at these meetings and share your thoughts about what services should and should not be included in next year's budget based upon their expected costs. With your input, the board can define a better budget for us all. And that completes my remarks for today. As always, thanks for listening and thank you for your support. We're now moving on to agenda item 6, which is our open forum. At this time, members may address the Board of Directors regarding items within the jurisdiction of this Board of Directors and not on the agenda. The Board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum to 30 minutes. Each member is asked to speak for no more than 3 minutes. A member may speak only once during the forum, and speakers may not give their time to other people. Members not in the boardroom at this time can also share their comments by joining this meeting via Zoom or by emailing your comments to meeting@vmsinc.org to have your message read during this open forum, should time permit. And Michaela, are there any requests for members to speak this morning?
Yes, we have a few. The first one is for Chris Collins.
Good morning, Ms. Collins.
Good morning. Chris Collins, 3306Q, and I'm here to provide an update on the work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village, which we do on behalf of residents who are experiencing temporary financial crisis. This is about estate planning. It's not just having a will. What if you suddenly become responsible for someone who suffered a serious stroke and could no longer communicate with you? What do you need to know? What if you were the one who suffered the serious stroke? What do you need to know about protecting your interests, both financial and health-related? The next broadcast of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village televised series entitled Planning for the Inevitable will look at these issues, continuing our discussion of estate planning. It'll focus on planning for the possibility of becoming incapacitated. This can be an uncomfortable topic, but one which is very important. Do you know what steps you can take to protect yourself? What are some things you can do right now? Should you have a durable power of attorney? Have you executed an advanced directive? What if you're alone and have no local family? What happens if someone doesn't take steps to protect themselves? What is conservatorship? These questions and related issues are the focus of the Foundation's next broadcast, which has been going on all month of March at 12 noon. It's every broadcast every Saturday at 12 noon. Tune in and hear Kay Blix, an elder law attorney. She's been an elder law attorney since 1984 and the founder of the elder law section of the Orange County Bar Association. According to Attorney Blix, estate planning is an ongoing process. It's a continuum. It begins while you are alive. She emphasizes that we need to plan for the possibility of incapacity and discusses some immediate steps that we can take. If you'd like to view this broadcast on your own schedule, it's also available on the Foundation website, which is foundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org, and it's under a special tab, Planning for the Inevitable. This website section includes the YouTube links for the broadcasts of all of our earlier broadcasts. So if you have any questions about the topic or of the upcoming broadcasts, you can go on the Foundation. You can email the Foundation at foundation@comline.com. And for information about the Foundation, please do go to our website at foundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org. Please note that donations can also always be made using PenPal or a credit card on that Foundation website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Bill Walsh.
Good morning. Bill Walsh, 3162C. I've come here this morning to invite you to the Earth Day celebration, which is going to take place on April 18th at noon in Clubhouse 5. And this is being put together by a group of concerned citizens. And there are going to be speakers there. There are going to be groups like the Audubon Society and different, the Pacific Marine, I think it's Sanctuary Group. I think they have their offices down on Laguna Canyon. And we would like you, hopefully, we've asked United, and Allison Bach has agreed to come and sit at a table and talk to residents as they come through about initiatives or plans, past and present, that the board are making. We've asked GRF. I haven't received a response from GRF yet. But we would really like it, one or more of you to come down for a little bit and maybe talk about what Third Board is doing to maybe reduce the carbon footprint that we have in the community. And we all know the impact of climate change. We've all experienced high insurance rates that are happening to us. I call that a climate tax. So, and I know about, I think Jules basically has been a proponent of Californiascape, and I know you guys are doing some of that work, and much appreciated. So if you could join us again, April 18th, noon, Clubhouse 5. We would really like it. Now, Siobhan, are some people from BMS going to be there? I'm not quite sure. I think we might have some people from BMS talking there.
Yes, that's my understanding, Bill.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I left a couple of flyers with Michaela, and you can pick up one from her. It details the speakers that are going to be there. It should be interesting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Asghar Arbari.
My name is Arbabi and I don't know English very well. I have some question about the budget. I asked Mr. Karimi to translate me. We have two items in the budget in the condo and co-ops. The first is,
If you go to the brief, I mean, it's in the brief on page, what is the page number on that? Oh, on page 50. They show a couple of, the cost on the breeze.
Yes.
So I think his question is about the contingency and disaster for third is $50.47 versus I think United, which is cheaper. And the other question you had was
insurance.
On the
Insurance
insurance,
is
that was third was higher than the GRF and United. I think those are the two questions.
اختلافش با
Oh yeah, that's what I
co-ops.
see. I said why is so higher for the third versus the United, and it's any other question?
نه همین برای اینکه هزینه مترقبه هزینه اجرایی نیست، این مربوط به ممبرشیپ هستش که هر موقع خریدم فروختم باید بهشون برگردونن، نه اینکه هزینه برای ما.
Okay, I think his question is these cost of assessment, or is the fee for membership that when he sells or buy then can be returned as part of the sells and buy. I think he doesn't understand what is the contingency and disaster fund, where it goes, and he thinks that it just sits somewhere, and if you don't use it, it's going to be returned to the seller and buyers. So that's why he stopped me in the lobby 2 minutes ago. I didn't have the answer. What I was asking, I said best to propose it for the board. All is asking why these costs are higher for the third, and are they as part of the assessment that goes away, or something that sits in a pot and come back in the after buy and sell? Is that?
و چرا هزینه‌های بیمه مال ما اینقدر زیاده؟
Yeah, I asked that question. Okay, so that, can you sit down? They're going to
جواب میدم.
بعد شما جواب میدم.
Thank you, Mr. Arbari. And Reza.
Final speaker is Cheryl Finnick.
Thanks for seeing me. So I'm coming here. I'm pretty upset because there's been 4 or 5 different projects and incidences with my home that's just caused me a great deal of stress. And it all has to do with, I tried to define it, quality and communication. That's what it all comes down to. The communication, I have 3 minutes. I can't go into each detail. Mr. Laws has received my 2-page memo about my water heater incident. But it has to do with communication between the departments and the resident, from the frontline workers, like the resident folks, the kids at the front desk, the landscapers are actually doing the job, and their bosses, And I listen to my neighbors, and unfortunately I've been in the administration quite often because of these issues, and I'm hearing the folks walking around very angry because they've called someplace 3 or 4 times and no one's answering them. They're emailing because calling is kind of difficult, and they're not even getting an email back that says, "We'll get back to you, we're working on it." Something to show and just placate the residents so that they don't get crazier and angrier. Also, I want to share with you, the frontline staff are magnificent. The gals and guys downstairs, I think they're training more folks. The landscapers, the electricians, the plumbers, they are doing and want to do. They're patient, they're kind with us crazy old people. You know, we have everything to say to them. They are wonderful. I think it's their bosses that need some training and some issues. So if we put down quality and we put down communication. So when I worked briefly in advertising, we had these couple of hundred packets we had to get out to market. So we couldn't review all of them. We took 10%, 20, and we looked at each packet and we said, okay, these are good, so there's an assumption that all 200 were. So what I'd like to suggest, and not to be just part of the problem, is that maybe the directors and the managers of all these departments get out of their suits, put on some clothes that can be in the field, and just once a month go out there and actually see what is going on. They don't have time to spend their days out there. That's where that's what their staff is for. But if they don't see, paper is not going to tell you. You know, I listened to the landscaping guy, Mr. Wyman, come out, and they put these beautiful slides out, and it was lovely, lovely, lovely. But that's to make sure that you guys are happy with them. I'm not saying they're lying, but we all know there's a way of manipulating numbers and stuff. They had 500 calls. I said, look, we went 500 to 50 calls, and look what we're doing. You know why they went to 50 calls? Because the people stopped calling because they were so gosh damn tired of calling. So that's my point. And so what I'm asking you, and Ms. Foster, you've got to communicate because it's really, really bad that we're not doing it. Really. I mean, it's seriously a breakdown. And so you can talk about services, but it's not the services. It's the process for those services that are affected now. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And that is all.
That was it, all right. Thank you, everyone that spoke. Any directors have any comments, thoughts before I share mine? Reza, go ahead.
Yeah, and Mr. Walsh, for the Earth Day, that's great. As we all know also, today at 8:30 p.m. is the change of winter to the spring. And that's the first day of the spring start at 8:30, and that's the Nowruz or New Year for the Iranian. I say Happy New Year to all the Iranian and everybody, because that's the first of the spring. Everything is brand new, and everything is coming alive, and best wishes on that. And Earth Day is part of this process, the renewation of the, of the earth and the vegetation in general and greens and everything. So remember that. There is a display up front for the Persian New Year, and I said I wish everyone a Happy New Year for the Iranian. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, excellent. All right, I'll make a few comments then. Ms. Collins, thank you again for always sharing updates regarding the Laguna Woods Foundation. Appreciate that. I will look forward to watching the show. Mr. Walsh, I'll get back with you if you're still here. Okay. It looks like he might have cut out, but I'll work with the directors and see if anyone or multiple will be available to attend. Mr. Arbari, he asked some questions about insurance and contingency. So let's start with insurance. So the insurance costs of property insurance. Oh, okay, got it. You're going to go translate? Fantastic. I'm kind of speaking to help everybody. So if you look at what United pays for insurance versus what Third pays for insurance, the property insurance that Third pays is included in our monthly assessment. That is not the case for United. So the United insurance cost is just the non-property insurance, liability insurance, officers insurance, that kind of thing. It does not include property insurance. Property insurance is billed separately to United. So that's why our insurance costs look much lower. There is a contingency figure. So part of our budget goes into a contingency fund. Actually, there's a couple of contingency funds that the board has available for unexpected things that come up. That is not planned to be returned. It's planned to be used somewhere along the line. If fewer unexpected things come up in the years ahead, then we'll reduce the amount of money that we put into that contingency fund going forward. But that's what that's about. And neither of those are planned to be returned if you move. Sorry. So hopefully that answers that question. And Ms. Fennick, I'm not sure I could have said it better myself. We've been working with the staff on those same issues. I think we're starting to make some progress. Hopefully you'll start seeing some of those things soon. But yeah, we hear those concerns a lot. Some of us as board members even see them ourselves when we request services and that kind of thing. So we hear you. We are working to address them with the VMS board and VMS staff. So thanks for sharing those.
I just want to add a note, Ms. Fennick. Your comments really identify the nub of an issue in this community, and that is who's in charge. And I believe, like I think you believe, that the members should be in charge, and right now they are not. Thank you for your comments.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Oh, hey, Brad, sorry, missed you.
Just in addition on the insurance, I guess he left. I mean, well, number one, I mean, the properties in Third are different than the properties in United, so the insurance is going to be different. And the other thing he needs to understand, and Dan, I think, can verify this, more of Third is in a high fire zone than United is, and that's going to dictate a difference in insurance rates also.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, not only we are in the fire zone, we also have a little bit higher insurance than the United have. We bought more insurance.
Okay. All right, good. Oh, SK.
Mark, thank you. Ms. Fennick, thank you for your comment. I hope our VMS directors, managers listen what you have to say, and then they learn from field, not at the desk. Thank you.
Yeah. Any last ones? Okay. All right. Moving on, there will not be a department update today, so we'll move on to agenda item 9, which is the CEO report. Siobhan?
Thank you, President Laws, honorable members of the board, and our audience today. I wanted to start off by covering the budget schedule, which President Laws already did. All I want to mention in that regard is that the entire calendar is available on the village website under the news tab. And then this morning I'd like to, as we head into the budget cycle, outline some recent cost-saving measures that our departments have implemented, as well as some efficiency improvements. So under cost savings, I'd like to start with the Office of the CEO. We've moved to electronic meeting agenda packets for in-person board meetings. This saves about $25,000 annually. And in lieu of the hard copies, attendees can use the QR code, which is located next to our coffee area, to access the agenda using their smartphones. Also under the Office of the CEO, the Media and Communications Division has digitized our docent tours to prospective residents. This eliminates the need for a bus driver and costs for those tours in the neighborhood of $14,000 to $22,000 annually. In our Community Services Division, completed lease applications are now mailed or dropped off by applicants instead of staff printing electronic copies of the documents that were received. This saves about $10,000 to $16,000 annually and saves up to 3 hours a day in labor costs. Village Television recently switched from a full-time position for on-air talent to 2 extremely talented part-time personas, Michael Taylor and Bobby Higgins. This is saving $50,000 annually. Not only are there the benefit savings associated with not having to pay a full-time employee, but most importantly, these individuals come in, they get their work done, and then they leave, and this saves about $40,000 annually in less staff costs associated with that service. Village Television has also incorporated AI technology to generate closed captioning for all programming broadcast on the channel, And this is saving $40,000 to $50,000 per year instead of having a live person do this captioning. In security services, our staff has learned to repair gate arms. So when they're accidentally knocked off the controller box, they can reset the gate arm systems. And this is saving about $28,000 annually. We have about 120 such incidents a year. And for a vendor to come out, this would cost $235 per call. So we applaud our staff for taking this initiative. Security services also cross-training security patrol officers to fill in for dispatchers when they have meal breaks. This is saving about $8,000 annually in meal penalties and so forth. And also we've restructured the security services coverage here in this building to go to an on-needed basis, and this will save about $41,000 annually, with resident services picking up the backfill that's needed when residents come in and may need assistance. Security has also gone to providing the Gate Ambassador Training Manual digitally. This saves printing 500 some pages and about 50 copies per year. Landscaping Services is adding higher sides to their dump trailers to increase capacity for debris and mulch by 150%. This will result in trip reduction, saving about $72,000 annually in labor costs, $50,000 for hauling debris, and about $15,000 for hauling mulch throughout the community. Financial Services has identified a new washing machine vendor which provides direct shipping, which is saving $11,000 in shipping costs this year and is estimated to save about $3,000 annually thereafter. This also saves about a week in delivery time. Financial Services is also working with Resident Services now to produce electronic receipts rather than manual receipts using a receipt book. This saves about $100 per request when a resident needs a copy of a receipt. Our staff no longer has to go search for the receipt in a receipt book. Financial Services has eliminated the need for a product purchase reserve checklist, saving about $1,000 annually. Our Information Systems Department has done two very innovative things. The first is they rewrote a software program to replace the resident service kiosk system in the front lobby here in the community center. And this new software program mimics the older one, but it adds an advanced reporting tool, which allows staff to break down service levels for departments that use the queuing system. This saves licensing fees. We no longer would have to purchase a reporting license, and staff costs are kept to a minimum because the new system is highly functional. This saves about $15,000 annually. They are also building in-house microcomputers for gate entry at our gatehouses, and this is used for gate guest lookup with our Dwelling Live system. And these will save about $8,000 to $14,000 annually, depending on the number of microcomputers that have to be replaced in a given year. Recreation and special events are managing golf operations and maintenance staffing during rain events to only have the minimum needed level of personnel on duty on a given rain day. This saves about $1,000 per rain day. Recreation is also evaluating events and canceling events that have low attendance and/or were not breaking even. Examples include the Renaissance Fair at the Equestrian Center, the Halloween Parade at Clubhouse 1, and viewing of the National Championship football game at Clubhouse 5. Recreation is also adjusting other events for cost recovery purposes. The monthly ticket price now reflects all costs associated with the event, as does the registration fee for annual sales events. The department is also rotating supervisors and coordinators to cover events so it doesn't fall on one clubhouse and their staff. We've also rescheduled the September outdoor concert to a weekday for lower entertainment costs and staff coverage, and converted the Kentucky Derby event to a viewing party with a GRF no-host bar instead of a full meal, lowering costs. Recreation has also adjusted the split for contract instructors. It has been 80-20, with GRF getting 20% of the revenue for several years, and now it's been changed to a 70-30 split, with GRF getting greater revenue. In terms of continuous process improvements, our departments are also focused on those. I would like to share that Resident Services has added the callback feature So residents can now call in, leave a callback number rather than being placed on hold, and receive their call in the order that their call was received. In February, for instance, we had more than 1,000 callbacks with an average wait time of 3 minutes and 40 seconds. This has been incredibly well received by our community. Landscaping Services is working to expedite clippings pickups. This is a big time use on Fridays particularly. We've ordered 2 Elliott Prof brush shredders that can be used to access hard-to-reach areas and quickly reduce the volume of the brush that is picked up, reducing dump trips. We're also investigating the use of a shredder that shreds directly into bags, reducing the number of times brush needs to be handled and reducing the number of trips necessary to dump the debris. General Services has developed a rain gutter cleaning schedule that will assist the contractor and inspection staff to stay on schedule and complete the annual rain gutter cleaning program on time. The schedule will also inform residents when they can expect this service to happen at their manors, and this is something that has been greatly needed for some time. General Services has also enhanced their training for in-house janitorial staff and developed a new janitorial inspection SOP and web form to better communicate and track the performance of our contract services. Maintenance and Construction has developed a revised after-hours emergency plumbing policy to enhance customer service response times and manage contractor expenses. This promotes clear lines of communication between security services and after-hour maintenance personnel to ensure resident services calls are assigned to the correct work function and minimize the need for residents to call back for updates. Manor Alterations has streamlined the procedure for processing mutual consents. This reduces processing time from 2 weeks from 8 to 12 weeks where we were in the past. This is a huge improvement, and my compliments to our staff. Maintenance has also implemented a plan to cancel obsolete work order tickets so our staff can focus on the work at hand. And we also always encourage our residents to be part of the solution to reduce costs. The easiest way to do this is to become someone who subscribes to electronic mailings for the November and April mandated mailings. The November mailing is for the budget and the April mailing is for the audit results. By going electronically, residents can save $7.50 per year. In November, when we did the budget mailing, we had about 29% of our owners subscribe to the electronic delivery. This will save about $27,000. In Third Mutual, we have about 1,800 people who have gone electronic out of these 6,000 owners. So again, we encourage everyone to go electronically if at all possible, and they can do this by emailing info@vmsinc.org. And that concludes my presentation this morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Siobhan. Any questions? All right. So we'll start with you, and then Jules.
On the Media and Communications Division, digitizing the docent tours, is that up and running now? And if it is, how do they access that?
It's just about to launch, so I will get all that information
Okay,
to you.
so
And I'm
it's
sure
not
it'll
up and
be in
running yet.
what's up in the village as well.
Jules?
My comment has to do with values. There are 2 different types of HOAs in California. There are the housing HOAs with amenities, and there are the amenities HOAs with housing. We're the latter. We primarily push and advertise and celebrate the wonderful amenities we have here. Taking the idea of cutting the equestrian Renaissance Fair just because it's not making money, I think is a violation of the whole idea. We really should celebrate that because it's a fun exercise. People really care about it, and we shouldn't just think about it in terms of money. There is a famous quote that the trademark bar constantly cites. There is no product that cannot be made a little poorer and sold a little cheaper. And to the person to whom price is the only importance is that person's lawful prey. We should really maintain the Renaissance Fair because it is a wonderful, joyous activity. Just my opinion.
Thank you. Moon?
Yeah, Siobhan, a lot of resident coming to resident service or alteration application. Can it be done through the website or through the email?
Yes to both.
It can be done
Yes.
both, and then they respond.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. They may save a lot of time and effort and money. Thank you.
Thanks. Reza?
Yeah, I just better say this morning I was at gate 10. I was observing our crew there that was doing the landscaping. You know, when there's good things happening, we have to say it. When bad things happening, we have to say it. So I saw some good thing was happening. This crew was very friendly crew. It looked like that they were trained crew, and they were working. I saw a lot of members working with them and talking to them, and they were really attending the members. I went there and shook the hand of the supervisor. I said, thank you for your service. So I think everyone, all the members, when there are good things happening, we should reward them. And where it's, not good things happening, we should remind them both way. So I saw some good thing this morning. That was very good. I like that. The crew was pretty good and really appreciate what they were doing with the members because people were happy too. So that's what the service is all about. Give service. And thank you for that. I just want to mention that.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Reza. All right. Brad?
Just last thing, thank you for the level of detail in this presentation. I think it's important, as Reza says, when there's good stories to tell, I think we need to do a better job of telling them, and I think this is a step in the right direction.
Yes, and I was going to say something similar, just, thanks for all the work the staff has been doing to try to save money, be more efficient, and I look forward to hearing more about that.
Thank you, and I do want to thank our staff for their efforts.
Right. All right. Thank you. And we're now on to agenda item 10, which is our consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board via a single motion. Today, per the consent calendar, the board is being asked to ratify the preliminary financials for the month of January 2024, approve a recommendation from the Landscape Committee, approve 3 variance requests recommended by the Architectural Controls and Standards Committee, which is also known as the ACSC, and approve the annual 2024 election schedule. Can I get a motion to approve today's consent calendar? I see Jim.
So moved.
Jim moves, SK seconds. Thank you. Any questions, comments from members? Okay. Any objection to approving them then as is? Seeing none, we'll approve the consent calendar. Please note that Andy's not here, but not that that matters too much. We'll move on to agenda item 11, where we'll be discussing and voting on unfinished business. Today, we only have one unfinished business item to discuss. Agenda item 11A is for the board to entertain a motion to approve a new additional dwelling unit or ADU policy. These updates were recommended by the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee, and last month the board reviewed the proposed new policy and voted to put it forward for 28-day member review and comment. So today we will be voting as to whether or not to implement this new ADU policy going forward. First of all, if I can get Chris to read the resolution for us.
Okay. Prohibition on accessory dwelling units, ADU, and junior accessory dwelling units, JADU. Whereas the Third Laguna Hills Mutual recognizes the need to amend policies and create new policies as necessary, and whereas Mutual recognizes the need to revise the operating rules of the corporation and enact a new policy prohibiting accessory dwelling units, ADU, and junior accessory dwelling units, JADUs, and whereas the Mutual is a condominium project and each of the units located herein are condominium units. Therefore, California Civil Code Section 4751 does not apply to the Mutual and the condominium units located therein. And whereas this policy is designed to confirm that owners are not permitted to construct an ADU or JADU within their units located in the mutual. In addition, garages shall not be converted to a dwelling structure nor converted to be used for living purposes. Now therefore be it resolved on March 19, 2024, the Board of Directors of the Mutual hereby adopt the prohibition on ADU and JADU policy, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of this corporation to carry out this resolution.
Great, thank you, Chris. Can I get a motion to approve the new ADU policy before we discuss it further? Let me finish my sentence, Jim. In a hurry today. Just giving you a hard time. Go ahead. Reza, seconds. Thank you both. All right. Any questions, comments regarding this new policy? Okay. All right. Any questions from third board members or comments? All right. I guess now time to vote. We're going to try to do this electronically, see if it all works. I got my fingers crossed. So again, we're voting as to whether or not to accept and implement this new ADU policy going forward. All right. So Moon, is it working for you? Moon, are you voting? We're voting?
Push yes.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. So this motion passed 9-0 and no abstentions. So thank you, board. We'll implement that policy with staff. And we will now move on to agenda item 12, which is for our new business items. Agenda item 12A is for the board to entertain a motion to approve the revision to resale inspection fees. These updates were recommended by the ACSC, and today we will be voting as to whether or not to submit these updated fees forward for 28-day member review and comment. Does anyone from staff, Bart, have any opening comments for us regarding this?
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. I just have a brief introduction to the item. We were requested to look into the current fees that we charge for resale inspections and determine if we were charging a fair amount to recover the time the staff spends doing these inspections. Upon review and based on the work that is involved to do these resale inspections, we prepare a table that shows the average times that we spend doing a typical resale inspection, and this is based on the traditional way of inspecting the exterior of units plus the water heater, and based on that, we propose a revision to the fees that will recover the time that staff spends putting those together. When we presented this to the committee, we also requested that they consider rounding the figures up, similar to how United has been doing it, and to be consistent with the same procedure. So the proposed fees that you see there have been rounded up to near $10, and this is here for your consideration and or to receive further direction.
Okay, thank you. And that's you just kind of stay there. We're going to make a motion, and then there may be questions for you. Can I get a motion to place the revised resale inspection fees on 28-day member review and comment period before we discuss it further? Reza moves. Chris seconds. Thank you. Yeah, nice, gentle music there. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board before we vote on this? All right, I have a couple. So during the first inspection, do we confirm that there are no unauthorized alterations?
What we do is we inspect what we can see from the exterior of the unit, and we also look at the water heaters. We do not look at alterations that have taken place inside the unit.
Okay.
Do we print out what we have on record showing what the alterations are ahead of time, or is that supplied to the realtor ahead of time? And at what time do we have this resale inspection checkoff list done?
So before our inspector goes out to do an inspection, they will have with them the list of approved alterations that we have records based on our digital research of the files. They work with that, and that is provided to the member once the inspection is complete, and to the escrow company for them to be aware of all of the alterations that have been approved and for which they are responsible for.
I just wanted to bring to light there's actually more done than just going in and looking at the water heater.
That's correct.
Okay, so now I'm confused. So you kind of fairly clear that from an inside of the manor perspective, you kind of, I think I heard some comment, blinders on, looking, just kind of going to where the water heater is, looking to see the age of the water heater and whether it needs to be replaced. So if somebody without authorization, say in a multi-story building, added a washer and dryer, my understanding is that the inspectors might just pass that by, not record it in any way, and the mutual would never know about it. Am I understanding that correctly?
So by way of inspection, you are correct. What we do is we do put together the list of approved alterations that we have, but we do not do an interior inspection of the unit.
So you put together a list, but you don't confirm that that list is accurate from the interior perspective. You might from an exterior patio room or
Right.
patio cover or something like that. But
That is correct.
Okay.
That has been the practice, and that's the practice that we
Okay.
follow.
Okay. And just a second, I'm going to ask one more, and then I'll definitely get you. Okay, so I think I understand the answer to that, and so I would request that the ACSC look at that going forward if we choose to proceed with this as is. And what is the difference between a reinspection and a final inspection?
So there have been a few times when our inspector has been called to do a final inspection, and when they arrived at the site, not all of the corrections have been completed. They have to come back to finalize that inspection. That is what a reinspection is. This also allows for the member an opportunity for them to request a pre-inspection prior to a final, should they have any questions.
Okay, so one is a pre-final, one is a final. Okay, I got it. All right. Okay, thanks. You've answered my questions. I'm going to do Reza and then Moon.
Yeah, I think our understanding was when, this thing came up in the, committee, that this inspection, all of that doesn't indemnify the buyer from any future findings. Because one, I don't think our data is complete, our database is not 100%. So the way that it has to be translated in the agreement between the buyer and seller through the real estate is to qualify that although the inspection's done, all of this done, but that doesn't indemnify the buyer for the future issue that might rise at the dwelling. I don't know if that is spelled out anywhere in this process. I think Jim, probably we talked about it, I guess, at that time.
Yeah, and we're trying to make it more comprehensive with the checkoff list and with the documentation of what actually went on in the unit. But we can never catch the ones that have been bootlegged in by someone.
Exactly.
And again, the new buyer is responsible for those. So
I just want to be, that the agreement between buyer and seller doesn't indemnify buyers for any future issues, because one of the issues that we have, they come here, this is done, I didn't know, you pay for it. So if that's clear to the buyer, that whatever is there, for the later on, the HOA is not responsible, that I think that's going to clear it up a little bit.
I understand that. I just think we should potentially look at this as an opportunity to make sure our records are up to date, versus just kind of say, hey, not look at anything other than the water heater. But that's just my thinking. So we'll come up to a vote momentarily. Moon?
Reza, let me clarify that. Is that new buyer gonna be indemnified? Not?
No, just the opposite.
just the opposite.
See, the problem is a new buyer doesn't know a lot about the rules or that.
buying as is.
If the inspection clears, and the new buyer should be indemnified to me. Otherwise, the new buyer doesn't know the rules, and then inspection already clarified, and then give okay to sell it, and new buyer buy it. For instance, there is some problem with water or bay window or something, which is not it's illegally done. And then the boss say it's okay. Then you buyer bought it, and then when he sells it, then that still in problem.
Yeah, I understand, but all I'm saying that it's going to be, at the end, it's going to be between buyer and seller because there is a contract. And the seller says, to the best of my knowledge and the inspection, these are the issues. If another issue came up in the future with the buyer, it should be between buyer and seller, not with the HOA to pay for the, for the misunderstanding between buyer and seller. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think indemnification is important to new buyer because the new buyer doesn't know all the rules and whatever it is, okay? But that issue needed to be revisited to me. Second one is I like this your inspection, and because a lot of new buyer doesn't know, so HOA inspected this is good, this is no good, and even if the delayed escrow, they need to be cleared. And then another question is if you do re-inspection. Here, $50. Each time you come in, you charge it each time or only one time? Let's say you revisited 5 times. Then do you charge it $250 or doesn't matter, only $50?
I mean, so if it requires multiple inspections for each time that our inspector goes out, that fee will be charged.
Charged, okay,
Yes.
each time.
Yes. Just one clarification with the way that the fees are set up too, that we do have inspections where after the first inspection, we find that there are no corrections to be made. And in those cases, final inspection will not be required because you've already complied, the member has already complied with all the requirements, and that will be sufficient to generate the final inspection.
Good, thanks. Jules, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on a comment that Moon made. There's been this discussion of indemnity. We're really not talking about indemnity. If a guy was an original member, 1960, 1970, he came in and he did a massive, unauthorized reconstruction of his place, right? And he sells it to number 2. Number 2 buys it, is there for 10 years, sells it to number 3. Now number 3 wants to sell it, and the community comes in and says, hey, there's this massive, major construction, you, number 3, are responsible for it. God, that is completely disreputable. The mutual had the opportunity to inspect or not inspect. If they didn't inspect and they allowed number 2 to buy it and number 3 to buy it, you can't then come along and say to number 4, you have to redo this. That's just totally unfair. I don't think it's legal. But I'm not talking about a lawyer as a lawyer. I'm talking about just plain fairness. That just stinks, and that's just unfair. And we should really be concerned about being fair.
Jules, Moon, you have something else to say?
Yeah, but, well, I don't know who's gonna answer. Are we grandfathering any unauthorized or authorized? Let's say 1980, they were authorized, or either unauthorized, authorized, alteration. Now, 2020, it is not authorized. It's illegal alteration. Then how are we going to handle that?
So we do grandfather those in.
Go ahead.
Just one small point, again, following up on what Moon says. If we really want to be fair and we really want to enforce our rules, then what we could do is to have one massive inspection and set the base for each of these places. And if there's any change after that, an inspection will show it. But otherwise, you cannot hold the current buyer for any unauthorized work that was done before they purchased it. That's all. And again, it's fairness.
Okay. Andy?
What committee has jurisdiction for this?
Yeah, it came out of ACSC, so I'm assuming ACSC.
Okay, we'll bring it up there. This is not the venue for it, but it's good points all.
Right, and I guess part of the reason I brought it up, what is inspected in the first place is, do we want to approve these revised fees, knowing that if we ask for the inspection to be potentially expanded, the fees may change and we have to revise them a little bit down the road. They haven't been updated, I understand, since 2007, so we've been potentially not getting our due for quite some time. So that's kind of up for the board to decide, I guess, when we vote. Okay, any further comments? Any comments from any members? Moon?
I think to follow up my question, and we didn't get any answer, but this needs to be discussed, and we have to make a new resolution. 20 years ago was authorized. Now it's unauthorized. How are we going to handle that?
Okay, so sorry, Moon, you may not have heard, but we did reply it's grandfathered in. Okay.
Yeah, this is only for the resale inspection fee. These are not the other rules that we keep talking about, who's indemnified, who's not.
Right.
That has to go back. Do we agree with the fees? That's all we're voting right now. Not with the rules. I don't think the rules are not, need to be ironed out a little bit for sure, but the fees, do we agree with the fees or not? That's what the question is right now.
That's right. And do we want to vote to approve them, knowing we may have to vote to reapprove updated fees in 2 or 3 months? Yeah, right. So that's fine. Okay. Jim, you have something to say?
Yes, we do want to approve them because we're losing money now because it costs us more to do what we're doing than what we're getting in return.
Okay. So I think Jim's going to be voting yes. All right. Anything further before we vote? All right. Bart, please have a seat and rest for a moment. Thank you. I think it's time for us to vote. Okay, so again, we're voting to place the revised resale inspection fees on 28-day member review and comment period. Is it working for you, SK?
I don't know. That's not. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, she may have seen it. Moon, we're looking for your vote, Moon? Okay, all right. And so voting is complete.
There you go, perfect.
Okay, complete. 9 voted yes to put these revised fees on 28-day member review and comment period. Thank you, board. Good discussion. So again, ACSC, if you could look into the answers to some of the questions that we came up with and bring your recommendations to the board at a future date, that would be great. Agenda item 12B is for the board to entertain a motion to eliminate standard 8 for personal porch lifts and elevators. These updates were also recommended by the ACSC, and today we will be voting as to whether or not to submit the elimination of this existing standard forward for 28-day member review and comment. right, I'll leave it at that. Can I get a motion to place the elimination of the standard on 20-day member review and comment period before we discuss it further? Jim, yes, votes yes. Jim moves, so moves. Reza seconds. Thank you both. Any questions, comments? I think we've kind of, okay, all right. Seeing none, any comments from any members? We may as well vote then. Again, we're voting to place the elimination of Standard 8 for personal porch lifts and elevators on a 28-day member review and comment period. So the intent would be that if today we don't have any in third, if we get requests for one, we'll address it based upon the rules and laws at that time. Okay, and this also passed 9 yeses, 0 no's, 0 abstentions. So the elimination of the standard is going on 28-day member review and comment. Thank you, board. Agenda item 12C is for the board to entertain a motion to approve a supplemental budget appropriation for Garden Villa Garage Water Seepage Consultant Services. It came out okay the first time. I won't try it again. The supplemental budget appropriation was recommended by the Maintenance and Construction Committee, and today we will be voting as to whether or not to approve this appropriation. Do we have anyone from staff here to talk about this one? Maybe Manuel's going to talk about it. Good day. Perfect timing.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the board. The item before you is a administrative correction we need the board to review and hopefully approve. As part of your 2024 budget, the board approved a budget allocation of $25,000 to hire an engineering consultant to try to address for us the issue we're having at Garden Villa garages where water continuously seeps down into the garage area. The funding, the $25,000, was inadvertently placed into the General Services Department budget, and we need it over in the MNC budget in order to properly track those expenses and to be able to move forward with the project. So this is kind of an administrative cleanup item. We appreciate your indulgence and recommend your approval of this.
Okay, thanks. I just have a question, and maybe others might. I don't understand this. Say we have the money inappropriately in the general services budget, yet we're pulling the money from the unappropriated expenditure fund. Why aren't we pulling the money from the general services fund and moving it to wherever it needs to go?
My understanding is that we will unallocate the money from the general services budget, but finance is not able to just do a swap.
Okay. And when we unallocate the money from general services, is that going to go back into the unappropriated expenditures fund? So it'll effectively be a wash, but this is the way we're doing it because finance can't just do a transfer as you mentioned?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know where it will go back to.
Okay.
But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a net zero.
Got it. Okay. I just wanted to confirm that. All right. Any other questions from anyone? For Manuel, before we create a motion and vote? Okay, so no others. Actually, before we create a motion, I'm going to ask Chris to read the resolution for us.
Supplemental budget appropriation for Garden Villa Garage Water Seepage Consultant Services. Whereas, as a part of the 2024 business plan, the board approved a budget allocation of $25,000 to hire a consultant to evaluate the water seepage occurring in the Garden Villa garage areas. And whereas the budget allocation for this project was inadvertently placed in the General Services Department budget. And whereas approval of the $25,000 supplemental appropriation from the Unappropriated Expenditure Fund, or UEF, will provide for proper and accurate tracking of expenditures for the project, and whereas there will be no fiscal impact to the overall third budget in 2024, as $25,000 will be adjusted out of the General Services Account 5460-3500 parens JA 9621000000. Now therefore be it resolved on March 19, 2024, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves a $25,000 supplemental appropriation from the Unappropriated Expenditure Fund, UEF, for Garden Villa Garage Water Seepage Consultant Services, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
Great, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve this supplemental budget appropriation before we discuss and vote on it? Andy moves. SK seconds. Thank you. See you, Brad. Sorry I missed you. Any final questions before we vote on this?
I just want to clarify, this for all of the Garden Villas garages, not just 1 or 2 units, right? For all of them, 25K?
So the 25K was to bring in a consultant to help us figure out what's going wrong in all of them.
In all of them.
Hopefully
That's all I
determine
know.
what the fix
Yeah,
is.
that's the question I'm asking you.
But the fix may cost more money
I
once we
understand that,
determine what
yeah.
that fix
I
is.
didn't know, is they going to focus on one
Okay.
unit or is it
If
all
I can,
units that they're going to?
it isn't happening in all units?
Understood.
Yes.
Okay.
But where it is happening.
Correct.
Yes. So, yeah. Okay. All right, thanks. Okay. Any other? SK?
Is this fund coming from reserve fund or emergency disaster fund?
The funding is coming from the unappropriated expenditure fund.
Which is not reserves. So it's an operating fund.
Operating fund? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any further? All right. Any member comments? All right. It is now time to vote. Again, we're voting as to whether or not we should have staff make this budget appropriation to move $25,000 from one fund to another with no net increase in the third's budget, or decrease for that matter.
I give up.
All right, thumbs up or down? Hey, thanks. Okay, so this also passed. Thank you, board. We'll ask staff to make that change. And our last item for new business is 12D, for the board to approve updated committee assignments. There's only one change this month, and that is to add Director S.K. Park, who's the third board's new second vice president, as an alternate to the Executive Hearings Committee. Can I get a motion to approve the update to the committee assignments before we discuss it further? Chris moves, Jim seconds. Any questions or comments from members of the board? Reza?
The GRF is not here. Is that change or does it?
So you're looking, Andy, you're looking probably at a minutes. So Reza, nothing has changed?
Okay, that's all I'm
There's no
asking.
change for GRF today?
16.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Andy, I think you're looking at the meeting minutes from an old meeting. So we're at 12D.
The yellow.
Yeah, it'd be yellow.
Yeah, the yellow
Just
one
to help you
shows-
along.
The yellow one that shows.
Yeah, you want to be the right spot because you're on next here. All right. Any further questions? All right. Now it's time to vote. And just SK thumbs up, thumbs down for Michaela, since it's not working for you. Hey, look at that. Maybe it worked for you this time. Okay, and Jules, all right, so this passed as well. Thank you. Board, appreciate it. We're now moving on to agenda item 13, where members of this board will share our monthly committee status updates, starting with a report of the Finance Committee. Andy?
Okay, we have some slides associated with this, so are we ready? Okay. All right, well, what we're looking at today from the Finance Committee is the financials for January 31st, 2024, 1 month's activity. A caveat on that is a lot of things happen in January that reflect a transition from the prior year. So you really can't rely on 1 month's, first month's results. That being said, we do have some comments. Now, slide 1 was showing that the total revenue for third was $3,882 thousand or million compared to expenses of 3218. So that resulted in a net revenue of 664K. Moving on to slide 2, we're looking at the different funds here because the results are composed of both reserve funds and operating funds, and they're handled very differently and have different implications. The operating fund shows a deficit of $24,000 for that 1-month period. And this chart shows how much of our revenue went into operations, with $2.312 million coming in from assessments and $145,000 coming from non-assessment revenue. This compares to operating expenditures of $2.481 million, excluding depreciation, which is a non-cash outlay. Moving on to slide 3, we expand the income statement and we compare those results to budget. We can see that third ended the period better than budget by $96,000 when combining both operating and reserve revenues and expenses. But later on, we'll separate them, and you'll find out that investment income goes into the reserve funds, and that is quite a bit of money. Let's go on to slide 4. The most significant variances from budget were attributable to, first of all, let's look at outside services, $130,000 favorable. And it's primarily due to landscape, due to the timing of the prior to paint landscape modernization program. Last year, we approved, based on recommendations from Director Ira Lewis, a comprehensive multi-year program where we spend money up front to save considerably more money later on. And we're doing that. And that program involves moving plants away from the building so that we could restore the optimal grading. You know, as plants grow, they change the grading and cause water to flow against the building, which is the last thing you want to do. So it also affects how when we paint buildings, because you have to take that shrubbery and tape it off and cover it and get it away from the building, and it slows down the efficiency of our crews. So we took steps to do this, and we're now doing it. Staff anticipates a contract for this work being awarded by April, and expenses beginning to come in by May 2024. Again, spend money up front to save a lot more money later on. Employee compensation related, $120,000 favorable, and it's primarily in the landscape and maintenance and construction departments due to open positions. For a long time now, we haven't been able to fill our positions because, for a lot of reasons, but mainly being the market is kind of thin on hires, and it continues. The impacted areas includes grounds maintenance, carpentry, and paint. Recruitment is in progress to fill open positions. Grounds maintenance contracted shrub bed maintenance to outside vendors for the pruning weeding cycle as they continue to fill open positions. So normally what happens is, if you can't hire the labor in-house, you have to go to outside vendors for it, and usually that costs more because they have to pass on their profit, whereas we don't have that issue. Problem is that they're tight on hiring, just as we are, and it's an odd situation. But anyway, outside services still came in under plan, and that's normally it offsets a lot of the favorable variance in in-house employment. Next item is insurance, $80,000 favorable variance, and that's due to a timing difference of property insurance expense compared to a flat budget spread. In other words, for simplicity, insurance is smooth throughout the year, but it isn't, in fact, smooth. It's lumpy, and we're seeing some of that. For subsequent months, February to December, the monthly budget will be adjusted to eliminate timing differences with no impact to the overall property insurance budget. So it's just the timing, how we present the thing in the plan. Next, we move on to investment income, $60,000 favorable. And that primarily resulted from Treasury bills yielding a higher return than anticipated. The Federal Reserve is in charge of managing interest rates to the extent they can, and sooner or later, people are expecting those rates to come down. but they haven't, and that's been a boon to us. Even so, because of conservatism, we only budgeted a return of 2.5%, which is considerable, and investments have been averaging 4.5% or higher. So on $30 million, roughly, of invested funds, 200 basis points is $600,000. So we expect that to continue for some time, but again, it goes into the reserve funds. Finally, legal fees, $27,000 unfavorable, and that's due to a higher number of resident-related cases than expected. Going on to there's two more items. Repairs and maintenance are $30,000 unfavorable, and that's primarily due to an unbudgeted expense for the replacement of 2 light poles within the community. Finally, fees and charges related to residents, $220,000 unfavorable, and that was primarily due to less damage restoration hearing scheduling over the holidays. A lot of people couldn't make their appointments, and subsequently, the Executive Review Committee did not get to as many cases as they wanted. That being said, we continue to have a very favorable return on that as the facts are correctly presented to everyone, and we've got a lot of understanding from the residents, and so we expect to recover that in the next few months. Let's go on to slide 5. On this slide, we chart our non-assessment revenues earned to date by category and compare them to the current year's budget and the prior year's year-to-date actuals. So that gives you kind of a trend and overview of several years. And our largest revenue-generating categories as of the end of January were investment income, resident maintenance fees, and sales and leasing fees. Non-assessment revenues totaled $259,000 through the reporting period. Move on to slide 6. On this slide, we chart our expenses to date by category and compare them to the current year's budget and the prior year's year-to-date actuals. Our largest expense categories at the end of January were employee compensation and related, insurance, and outside services, which we've talked about previously. Expenses totaled $3.218 million through reporting period. Next slide. The non-operating fund balance on January 31st, 2024 was $33.601 million. Year-to-date contributions and interest were $1425K, while year-to-date expenditures were $730K. And so as part of that is the favorable variance on investment revenue, and we expect that to continue. And again, it's good that contributions exceed expenditures because we want to build reserves. Slide 8, we compare the non-operating fund balances to historical fund balances for the past 5 years in this chart, which has averaged roughly $31.1 million. Third Laguna Hills Mutual has been committed to supporting reserve requirements and having more contingency funds for unexpected events. And that's something that we talked about earlier in this meeting. You need contingency funds. So we have a nice level of contingency funds. What's the right number? Don't know, but we're always looking at it. Finally, slide 9. This slide shows resale history from 2022 through 2024, year to date. Through January 31st, third resales total 30, which is 7 resales higher than the prior year for the same time period. The average year-to-date resale price for third was $614,000, which is $259,000 higher than the prior year for the same time period. And that's, basically, I don't think the market's moved up that much, but it's a mixed thing. People are buying the bigger, more expensive units in third. And so it's a mixed thing right now. We can't really say what the year's going to look like. And that concludes my report for the finances. Finally.
Okay, just seeing if anybody has any questions for
I want to say,
Andy.
okay, I have to talk about when we're going to meet again. Sorry about that.
So I'll take care of it.
All right, the committee met on February 6th. The committee met on February 6th, 2024. The next meeting is April 2nd, 2024, at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom, and as a virtual meeting. We meet every 2 months, and so the financials come out every month, but depending on the timing, we may not be able to get to the most current month from a calendar standpoint. So I hope people will bear with us on that, but eventually do catch up. Thank you.
All right, thanks. And before I ask Jim, you to talk, Jules, did I hear you saying you changed your vote on 12D, the committee assignments?
Yes.
Okay, so Jules voted no on the committee assignments. That's what I would have expected. Thanks. All right, next we have the ACSC committee update. Jim?
Yeah, the ACSC committee, the 3 recommendations promoted to the board today on variances were passed. The approval of the resale inspection fees was taken care of. In addition to that, upcoming will be standard 41B, solar panels, 3-story buildings, proposed standard 41C, solar panels, carports, and patio covers, proposed standards, options for second and third floors of multi-story buildings. In addition to that, we continue to update, improve the checkoff list for resale inspections, and also continue to approve and make available more comprehensive data reports on what has been done in alterations to different units that will be beneficial to the HOA, the realtors, the sellers, and the buyers, so that more is given up front to know what is responsible as far as we have records for. Our next meeting will be April 8th, 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom and as a virtual meeting.
Okay, great, thank you. And what's new regarding the 3rd Maintenance and Construction Committee, Brad?
We held our meeting on, Monday, March 4th. The main things that we covered were we have actually finally started the building pressure reading project. They've done 89 of 320 buildings at that time. They have hired 2 folks that are actually going through and actually started doing the testing. We got an update on the slope repairs. 2 of those slopes have been completed. They're looking good. M&C is looking at possibly transferring that program or process to landscape for the next fiscal year, because it might be more appropriate there. I think the meeting for the SE rate increase has been rescheduled, or I think I saw an announcement in one of the on the website or in the magazine on new dates for that, and also ways to contact your congressman, et cetera, to complain about the rate increases. Railings at Garden Villa entrances we discussed. They were actually looking at putting railing all along the whole sidewalk area. I was just talking about a railing at the step at the front entrance, so they're going to revise that, and we're going to look at incorporating that into next year's budget. We also went through the projects log. There were no questions or anything unusual there. The garage seepage we already discussed. We spent a lot of time on roof replacement, roof repairs. We want to look at different technologies for roofing. We think there might be some opportunities at transitioning from one type of roof onto a different type of roof, especially for the buildings that have more and more remediation issues. I think the comparison was a typical 25-year life to a 50-year life on the new technology. So I'm going to spend some time with M&C and Manny on looking at those types of issues. Those are the main issues that we covered.
Okay, great. And the next meeting is when?
Next meeting, May 6th.
Yeah, I was going to say May 6th, 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom.
Right.
Yeah. Regarding the pressure regulator valves, I know there's not a meeting between this meeting and the next board meeting. If you could come prepared with how many have been counted and how many have been replaced. I think we're more interested in the replacement because I understand that the results showed that some are quite high.
Correct.
And so hopefully we're getting those replaced. Thank you. Thanks, Brad. All right, Ira's not here to talk about the landscape committee, so we'll get an update from that later. Jules, is there anything new to be shared regarding the water conservation committee?
Nothing. There has been no meetings. The next meeting will be on April 25th.
Okay, great. Thanks. Next, we have the third Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. Chris?
Yes, this committee last met on Tuesday, February 27th, and during that meeting, the committee approved for immediate use the revised disciplinary notices. The committee also discussed the policy for temporary containers and provided additional comments for review at the next meeting. Additionally, the Compliance Department provided an overview of the member disciplinary process, and the committee also discussed the possibility of translating the disciplinary letters into other languages. The committee will next meet on Wednesday, May 27th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom. The committee plans to discuss the distribution of printed material policy, the harassment policy, the hate policy, and the nuisance policy to see if any changes are appropriate. This concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. And I think the next meeting is March 27th versus May. I think you may have mentioned May, but that's fine. Okay, thanks for that. Reza, is there anything you want to or are able to share regarding the management agreement ad hoc committee?
We are in kind of communication with the attorney about the things that we looked at, the committee looked at. As soon as we have some information, we'll share.
Okay, great, thank you. And finally, what can you share, SK, about the Garden Villa Rec Room Committee?
Yes, third Mutual Garden Villa Recreation Room Subcommittee meeting was held on March 13th, 1:30 p.m. This boardroom. In the meeting, staff presented 2024 project plan for repair and replacement. Staff also reported the rec room fund sources and balances. The committee also approved 2024 project plans and budget. Detail as follows. First, year 2024 epoxy floor, heat pump, and water heater repair and replacement project work discussed, and those projects were funded by third reserve fund. Total fund is $65,955. Second item is 2024 rec room component expenditure are total 14 components, and the plan to replace the components a total $95,285,000, where 2024 rec room fund is $97,000, approximately $2,400 under. Third, the rec room fund balance at the end of 2024 will be $111,406. Number four, other items committee discussed are inquired about epoxy flooring options and also inquired about ceiling tiles where no ceiling tile exists. We inquired into the MNC department. Number five, staff plan to extend the component replacement schedule beyond the estimated lifespan of the schedule where no replacement are needed. By extending replacement schedule, third rec room fund will be extended. That's the goal of extending component replacement life cycle. Next, the GVA rec room committee meeting will be July 24th. Thank you.
Great, thanks, SK. Appreciate that. And that's all we have for third mutual committees. We'll now move on to agenda item 14, where we will share our monthly GRF committee status updates, starting with the GRF Community Activities Committee, or CAC. Andy?
All right, the committee last met on March 14th, last week, and we went over the relocation of activities from Clubhouse 1 to various clubhouses, and that went really well. The Recreation Department has been especially creative. For example, there used to be a huge space up on the third floor here for the old gym, and that's now being used as a multi-purpose room, supplanting stuff that would have been in Clubhouse 1, so they've done a great job. Secondly, the revised room rates went into effect and they've been going very well. We haven't gotten any pushback that their people they don't like the change that happened. It's been very favorable. The next meeting is to be determined.
I wouldn't think so. Next meeting, isn't it the second Tuesday of April?
April 11th.
Do you have a date? I don't have a date on it.
Okay, okay.
What is it?
Second Thursday of every month. No, sorry. April 11th.
Okay,
April 11th,
next
1:30.
meeting is scheduled right now for April 11th, Tuesday.
Okay. It'll be a Thursday, and it'll be 1:30.
1:30 in the boardroom,
boardroom.
and
Okay.
it'll be virtual too.
Good, great, thanks. And while I have you, Andy, what's the latest from the GRF Space Planning Ad Hoc Committee?
Okay. The Space Planning Ad Hoc Committee just met on March 6th, and we're scheduled to meet again tomorrow at 1:30 in the boardroom. It's an open meeting, and it's virtual too. What happened with that is that Chairman Hopkins, rightfully so, wanted to get some basic operating principles and goals, and he's doing that. But in the meeting, a motion was made to get things rolling, and in effect, a subcommittee consisting of Nancy Carlson and myself was approved by the narrowest of margins, one vote, so it's not unanimous, to have a subcommittee actively talk to the staff and develop some ideas, not saying that the other members of the committee couldn't have their own ideas, but we were trying to limit the contact required of the staff because, you know, obviously, if everyone was asking the staff, that would be non-productive. And we did get clearance from Shaban to talk to the staff. And we've made an initial, we had an initial conversation, Nancy and myself, with Mr. Gomez, and got some really valuable insights. We're accumulating data, and we're coming up with some ideas. Not the final plan, but ideas backed by data. And that's where we are right now. The next meeting, as I said, is tomorrow at 1:30 in the boardroom and virtually. Hope to see you all.
Okay. And will you be sharing the ideas that you and Nancy, the subcommittee, came up with in tomorrow's meeting?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if it was too soon, but that's why I was asking. All right. Next, we'll get an update regarding the village traffic hearings, SK?
Yes, this traffic hearing was short, February 21st, 9 a.m., this boardroom. 5 violations were heard, and one was a hit and run violation, was assigned to reschedule to tomorrow, which is this month hearing. Number item 2 is 1 speed violations, speeding over 11 and 15 miles per hour, guilty and fine. And 3 failure to stop, which is highest violation. We're still having a stop violation. Please stop and go. 3 stops, guilty and fines. And next hearing is tomorrow, March 20th, which is correct, I think. Yes, 9 a.m. this boardroom. Thank you.
All right. And while I have you, SK, what's the latest from the GRF Information Technology Committee, or ITAC? Excuse me, Information Technology Advisory Committee. All right.
Yes, ITAC meeting was held last February, 1:30, a closed web meeting. And the advisory committee was overseeing the development and the implementation of Microsoft-based Dynamic 365 software program, which is ERP, for entire Laguna Woods Village organization. In the advisory committee meeting was focused on the reason of delay of phase 1 implementation, which was scheduled go live at 1st of May 2024. The main reason of the delay was due to implementation incompletion of UAT, which is User Acceptance Testing 1. Also, committee was advised of consequences of a revised plan that is delayed. That is new revised go live in August 1st, in place of May 1st. The new schedules are first, March 15, which is passed already, user acceptance testing 1 completion. B, May 15, user acceptance testing 2 to be completed. And then July 1st will be mock go live schedule. And then last, August 1st is go live schedule. I hope that goes well. Next, the ITAC meeting scheduled on March 29th, 1:30 p.m. by web closed meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, SK. Andy, what's the latest from the GRF Finance Committee?
Okay, the GRF Finance Committee, the GRF Finance Committee last met on February 21st. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 17th at 1:30 in the boardroom. Again, we went over basic financials, but again, it's the start of the year, and the rain has caused some issues in terms of the golf operation. But other than that, it's too early to say there's anything of note. One thing we can't say is that the fully operating, great-looking driving range is once again generating revenue, and it's heavily used. And the golf people are looking into improving drainage at the various holes. For example, the par 3 course, a couple of the holes have standing water at times. So all of these things are meant to increase the traffic in the golf course, which residents pay for, and we see a positive to that. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Andy. What's the latest from the GRF Security and Community Access Committee, SK?
Yes, SCAC so-called meeting was held February 28th in this boardroom. In that meeting, discussion was following. But unfortunately, SCAC meeting is all pretty much bring up the issues, discussion. No conclusion or final what we're going to do or something like that. But that was frustrating for me continuously. But we did have some problem of a Gate 5 entrance issue in mid-January. We still have some issue with that. And the second item is announced a complete and final report on the flash stop sign. So please open ear and then hear what they have to say about the stop sign, flash sign this month. Safety concern over our residents walking on street at night with the dark clothes. That is a kind of violation of GRF violation of walking on the street, but I don't know clearly what to do with the people doing that. Number 4 item is discuss, approve a new fee structure for new and non-return ID card. People rented home and then leave and terminate their lease and then not return ID card. That caused some problem of some people using that card, I guess. And item 5 is gate access to non-resident attending village event. That was another issue. Starting last meeting, continued the discussion of each mutual's registered vehicle policy. We are continue working on that. And also traffic enforcement issues. We have only 3 officers for traffic enforcement. So they're complaining about the short of the people, I guess. Next, security and the community access meeting will be April 24th. Am I correct on that one? Yes. Okay, 1:30 p.m. this room. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And do you have any updates regarding the last GRF Clubhouse Facilities Renovation Ad Hoc Committee to share with us, Andy? Did they meet? I have you listed.
Well, we're monitoring what's happening at Clubhouse 1.
Okay.
And Reza might be able to speak to this better, but it turns out that you miss things. You know, you do a big major project, and now we find out Clubhouse 5 maybe could have some more work done on it, on the washrooms. Am I correct? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, they're packed bathrooms, and they're working on that. And the issue was that we need to be a little bit more agile and finding what are the issues are in each clubhouse and put them all together rather than piecemealing. I guess the staff going to look at that and tell us, you know, collectively what we need to do in each clubhouse. For example, Clubhouse 3, Pat, we've been working there for some times, and it's still we're doing piecemeal work, and that's not going to help with the cost and, you know, the membership happiness with the facility. So I guess we need to organize that better, and that's one of the things that the staff going to look into it and bring it up. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Thank you all. And finally, the following GRF committees have not met since the last third board meeting of February 20th, so there are no updates for these. The GRF website ad hoc committee last met on May 22nd of last year, and the date and time of its next meeting is to be determined. I will work with staff to see if we can either get a meeting going or cancel that committee. The GRF broadband ad hoc committee last met on February 14th, and the date and time of its next meeting is to be determined. The GRF Media and Communications Committee last met on January 15th and is scheduled to next meet on Monday, April 15th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. The GRF Mobility and Vehicles Committee last met on February 7th and is scheduled to next meet on Wednesday, May 1st at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. The GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee last met on February 14th and is scheduled to next meet on Wednesday, April 10th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom. The GRF Landscape Committee last met on February 14th and is scheduled to next meet on Wednesday, May 8th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. And finally, the GRF Disaster Preparedness Task Force Committee last met on January 30th and is scheduled to next meet next Tuesday, March 26th at 9 a.m. here in the boardroom. And that concludes our committee reports. We're now at agenda item 15, which is for the board to note any items they'd like to be discussed at a future board meeting. So far on our list, we have the two items that we today put on 28-day member review and comment, which are approving the revision to the resale inspection fees and approving the elimination of standard 8 for personal patio lifts and elevators. Are there any other items that anybody would like to add to be considered for discussion of future open board meeting? All right, seeing none, we'll move on, and as we have agenda prep meetings and other meetings to add items here for future. We're now at agenda item 16 for directors' comments. Do any directors have any last comments that they'd like to share? Brad, any last comments for you? No. Okay, Moon? Yeah,
I think one of the residents come up talking about the communication and all that. I think we still have some problem with the resident. We still have some problem to inform the resident, the communication, and I think that it's let the resident know it's our obligation, fiduciary obligation to let the resident know. One example is that some of our committee, for instance, executive hearing committee, and the sensitive matter, the personal privacy matters, but that committee does not report to any place, here or even closed session, and that needed to be informed, and it's more open and to the resident, as long as we cut down all the privacy matters. I would like to see all our activity needed to be communicated to the resident, and we should honor our open meeting policy. Not only that, we have to honor our fiduciary duty to inform the resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Moon. Jules, you have any last comments?
I am speechless.
Thank you.
Yes, I do have one comment. Whether I should put that in the future agenda item or not, but it's all the board members that decide where to go. But anyway, I had a discussion with the residents at building 3500, and they have practically 4 complaints. One is sidewalk slope issue. The sidewalk does not have a slope, so people cannot get on with the walkers on. So they're asking us to make a slope so that it's a sidewalk, particularly where the cross. Put some slope, 1, 2, 3 corners.
You're talking about curb cuts?
Yes, curb cuts. Next item is the walkway to the building, to the parking lot is sloped quite a bit, and one resident fell on that slope and paralyzed. So we need to visit there. I talked to Director Bart about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I haven't heard any update yet, so that's why I'm bringing it up here. And item 3, waste room door need to be repaired. Its damage is so bad, and that's a LH21 building. It has to be replaced. And item D is a sidewalk on the one far right side of building. They marked to repair. It's been about more than a year, and still it's marked. It's not repaired. So I think we need to address this issue for the resident of 3500 as soon as we can.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. SK, so I know you're a member of the M&C committee, so
Yes.
that's the committee that would tend to look at these, so make sure you bring those up there along with whatever else we do to help address these situations.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim, you have any
No
final
further
comments?
comment.
All right. Chris, any? Okay. Andy?
Yeah, I do have one, and it concerns the upcoming budget meetings. We had some comments from the residents concerning in Third, the absence of street cutouts in some areas in Third, and the residents' perception that Third didn't have as many cutouts as it could have versus United. So in the budget meetings, we'll be exploring whether we can get some funds to increase the number of cutouts, because as happened to me, it's very easy to fall at these corners we have a lot of hills in Third, and some of those corner curbs are pretty high, easy to trip on, and we all know how devastating falls can be. So we're going to be exploring improving that situation in the upcoming budget meetings. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Reza?
Yeah, following what Andy said, I think there are part of those activities belong to GRF, and part of it we have to identify which one of them are GRF and which one of them are a Third or United. So I guess that discussion had been in the past, and there was dispute which corners and which areas. There are some, as I said, some of them belong to GRF, and they need to do that, and some of it belong to the Third. The Third can do that. Thank you.
Thanks. All right.
I'd like to make a comment regarding that curb cut. I don't care whether it's GRF or Third. We got to fix that right now so that not any more person fell and paralyzed. It is a safety issue. Thank you.
Thanks. Jules?
Regarding the fall, falling is a major problem for people as you get older, and what I propose that we really should, somebody in this board or in this community should be pushing the fact that our people, our members, ought to spend a lot of time working on balance and working on weights, because those two things, curing them, will lower hugely the number of falls or the number of problems you have when you do fall. If someone has strength in their hands, they can catch themselves when they fall and pick themselves up and walk away. But if you don't have enough strength in your arms, you may be a dead duck when you lose your balance. Two very, very important things for people our age.
Thank you. All right, thanks for your final director comments, appreciate it. It is now 11:20. The business of our open meeting has now been completed. At this time, the monthly board meeting will recess for 10 minutes. And then executive committee will reconvene to executive session, and we'll figure out in there a little break. Thanks to those of you who participated. Thanks to everyone for listening, and this meeting is now adjourned. This open meeting. Thank you.